Hey, Park,
Yeah.
what you'll do is I'm about to, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm about to post on mine. What you'll do is just go to Web Talk and look
Okay.
at my news feed.
Right in front of it. Go to Web Talk. Look at your news feed.
Yeah, not right in just a second. Oh, yeah. All right.
Oh, Web Talk stalled out. I can't get on. I'll try again. No, it's auto-populating my password. And every time it does that and I hit continue, I can never get on. I don't know what's wrong. I have the hardest time getting on Web Talk.
Look
That is
at
weird.
that. Teacher Toto, the same thing last night with Delphine and her friends in Thailand. Teacher Toto, you wrote something very beautiful in Web Talk to them. Teacher Park's going through the same thing.
Did you have a solution?
Teacher Toto.
Yeah, actually, when you log in the Web Talk, so I don't know why, but if you log in by somebody's link, Web Talk is easier than log in the main page. I mean, if you search the Web Talk and then you log in the main page, it's really hard, and then it's pending for a long time. But if you join in by someone's link, and it's easier.
Join with someone's link?
Yes, I mean, because when, for example, teacher Andy will give you the link, and then you will have the two things that's log in and then join in Web Talk. If you're a new member, you will join in Web Talk, but you have an account already, so you log in, and then you push, you click in the log in there, and then it's easier to join in Web Talk, to log in the Web Talk. But in the main page, it's really difficult.
So, okay, I mean, if I were trying that right now, where would I start?
Yeah, so maybe teacher Andy can give you any link about the page, or about the post, or about his link profile, so you can log in from there. Yes, I think teacher Tim.
What do you mean though? Like a link for what?
I mean,
like a post?
Yes, it's anything. It's not the main post. Anything, but it's not the main post, so you can easier to log in. Yes, I try it already, and when I log in from the main page, it's really difficult.
Okay, so I'm gonna copy the link. Park, go to just go ahead and go to your school mail, and I'll send you a message there with the link and see.
I can't. I'm not on my school computer.
Oh, okay.
Just send it to, can you send it to rparkellis@gmail.com?
Yeah, rparkellis.
At gmail.com.
Okay, see if that link will take you, because that link should just take you to this, actually to this video. Park, what? Do you know Miriam?
All right, I'm in. I mean, I'm not seeing. Yeah, now I am. Okay. So you have it live. You did the YouTube.
Link will take you.
You did the YouTube.
Yeah, mute that right now, Park.
Okay.
And then just copy the link, the YouTube link, and paste it in your Web Talk newsfeed with a little note or something saying message, or say comment here to get into the class.
Mine is the other one. 55 years old and kidding.
I'm trying to figure out share. There we go. All right.
Park. Okay. And then just copy the link the YouTube link and paste it in your Park, you're gonna need to mute your web talk something live. Tim, I know lambs. I'm gonna let him in, let her in.
Yes.
So I'm pasting the YouTube link into my web talk.
Yeah, so that YouTube link that's in my post, just copy that and then make a little comment, paste that post in your newsfeed, and then it should just come right up. And this is what you would do. This is what you would do anytime. So when you get your YouTube set up,
Just create a new post.
yeah, just copy that link, create a new post, write whatever you want to write, and put that post in. I would say tell your students to comment below if they want to get into your Zoom. Once again, guys, we are about ready to start a class, but we're still in the process of making classes as secure as possible. So we're using, Teacher Park is using the IEG Zoom, and I am actually the one using the YouTube link tonight. Once again, we're posting YouTube links, having people comment on the teacher's post so that he can see who is wanting to get into the class and see if you are on his list. If you're not on his list tonight, don't worry, don't be upset. You might just be in the waiting room tonight, but make sure that you comment on his post in Web Talk and say that you are actually in his class so that he can see your name. And after tonight, he can go and add you to his list and add you next week. This is how we're doing it, guys. It's sometimes you're not going to get into the Zoom. That is okay because we want everybody to comment in the Web Talk post anyway. So all you got to do is post or comment on his post so that you can get your name on the list for next week. Teachers are taking a little bit of time to get these lists, so be patient, but also understand the reason is that we want you to all be safe and know that you're going into a secure Zoom so that nothing will happen. I just finished watching episode 6, so I'll just give you a little bit of this right now.
Episode 6 of what?
The Last Dance, man. Michael Jordan, the Bulls last hurrah in '98.
Oh, okay. You're going way back.
I remember when they beat those Celtics?
No.
I'm not a basketball fan.
Oh, so if they would have beat the Patriots, then you would have known?
Yeah, then I would have known.
Terry, that's a very comfortable looking chair you're in there.
Yeah, it was supposed to be out on my porch, but I like it too much, so I brought it in.
I love it. Wow. That is the perfect place for mindfulness practice.
So, Park, what did you put?
Lights on
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Can't
Park,
see
what
it
did you
now.
put as far as a message for people when they see your live? Actually, I'm looking it up right now, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there's the lights.
Okay, here we go. Already comments. Lambs is joining.
I'm trying to keep that light behind me blocked out because when I do this, it's kind of blinding. I'm sorry. I got to get a better place to do this.
That's right.
I was outside.
You gotta get one of those big round lights and go crazy.
Yeah, well, I was outside a minute ago on my porch. I was going to do it out there. It was so nice. I got the light. I pulled a light out there to get the lighting right. But my next door neighbor's dogs will not stop barking. They're just going nuts. So,
They're messing with your mindfulness.
That's right. I was like, all right, don't yell.
What if you kick the dog like you kick the desk?
My foot is finally getting back to normal. Boy, I
Oh,
paid for
man.
that one for a while.
Right. Does anybody know who Thon Sang Nguyen?
I'm not seeing that in the
In
waiting
the
room.
waiting room. Yeah.
Why don't I see that?
Is that someone on your list?
He's good to go.
He is?
Even though, yeah, he's good to go.
Okay.
He just commented and emojis and stuff. He's a new web talker.
Okay.
I do have a list, but
Where did he comment? Park or Tim? Did he comment on Parks?
He did not. He gave an emoji the last couple days sharing online communication Tuesday this morning's web talk
Oh,
live
okay.
stream.
Oh, okay.
So he's just new. So he doesn't know Teacher Park yet. I know who
Okay.
he is. I really want to stay out of it though, because it's on his. We're trying to look at Teacher Park's list first, and with you, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, if I know someone, you know,
Okay.
in classes and stuff, I'm gonna add them as a co-host. I
Okay.
don't feel like. See, I feel like what we're doing is trying to figure out the small percentage of the people that we don't know. But like as soon as I saw Ann Sarah, I know who she is. She's active all the time. I know Lambs. Park doesn't, I don't think, but I know.
Well, Teacher Miriam from Innovative English Algeria, she was waiting, and then you spoke. Go to Web Talk and comment there. So she left. I don't want to
Oh,
invite people because I want to respect Teacher Park's list and
right,
your list. I know
right,
much more people
right,
of
right.
good web talkers, so you can invite this one in. He's good.
Okay, yeah, he's
And
joining.
Teacher Park, actually, when you start the class and you manage participants, you're going to see the little 3 white dots at the bottom right. To begin your class, mute participants on entry. So, just so the microphone doesn't just on right away when they enter. And then the other one is allow participants.
I don't see three white dots.
Well, that's because you're not the host. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put host over to you. Oh wait, no, I'm not the host. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put host over to you, Park, and then when you get host, then make me a co-host. So now you can make me the co-host, so I can still look at the participants,
Okay.
and then you're good to go.
So
After one more though, Teacher Park. Now that you're host, you see the 3 dots that are horizontal at the bottom, participants.
yeah.
If you click that, it's 2 main things, especially for your mindfulness classes. You're trying to share everything in the beginning, muting the participants on entry, and the second one is, allow participants to unmute themselves. The tick is on right now. So there might be new web talkers when you're talking, they might turn on their microphone. And then the noise. So you kind of want to tick that off. Don't allow them to turn on the microphones.
Okay.
Until you're done.
The only problem is when I mute them, I mute you as well.
Well, I'm a co-host, Teacher Andy's a co-host, so we have at least some ability.
Yeah.
And then that'll be your awareness as well. If it does, we can't, then you just. But I'm
Okay.
going to leave this. I'm going to go into Web Talk. I won't be here.
Okay. Well, thank you for your help. Man, I couldn't do it without you guys, that's for sure. All right. And those of you out there that are hearing this, make sure, if you can, join us through the YouTube live feed that's on Web Talk and make comments down below that, because that helps all of us out. If you're sharing links, you can share a link to this recording when it's over. That would also be great. I would appreciate that. So welcome back to Mindfulness. We're going to do some more practicing. I tell you what, I just realized that I left my phone. I was going to do this outside and the dogs were barking too loud, so I had to move in And I just found it. Never mind. Okay. I need that for my bell, my mindfulness bell. There we go. Because today we're going to practice for 5 minutes. Are you guys ready for that? It's a long time, but we can do it. It'll be great. I'm actually skipping lesson 3 from if you remember from my intro video, or maybe you weren't tuned into that. I'm kind of pulling from this curriculum that I just went through a series of classes called Mindfulness Education Essentials. So it's for teaching young people mindfulness, but I'm using that curriculum sort of as a guideline for what we're doing. I'm not really following it directly, but I'm sort of just making sure that I'm meeting those markers that are in that curriculum, so that we're doing the different things that are suggested in there. So this is actually lesson 4, even though this is the 3rd time we've met. And what we're going to do, well, first of all, let me just kind of invite you guys to get in a mindful posture wherever you are, whether you're sitting or on the floor in a chair, or whether you're standing or even lying down, whatever makes you comfortable, but also doesn't put you to sleep. So go ahead and find that. If you're sitting in a chair like me, you want to put your feet flat on the floor, and you want to straighten your spine, and you want to make sure your shoulders are released of any any gripping that you're doing there. Also, and we didn't really talk about this before, but try to relax your face too. I mean, a lot of us don't realize that we hold a lot of tension right here in our jaw. So, and also in the eyes. So when we do this, I'm going to tell you, soften your eyes. And all that means is just sort of let go of the hard, gaze that you might be doing, and just let your eyes sort of soften. Okay. So once you're in a mindful posture, let's just take a mindful breath together. So we go in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we breathe pretty deep. All right. So let's do that together. Out through the mouth. So I thought I'd start with a recap of what we talked about last week. Towards the end, I hit you with an interesting statistic that sort of blew me away. I'll just repeat it. And that's that the human body sends 11 million bits per second to the brain for processing. 11 million bits to the brain every second. But our consciousness, our conscious brain, can only process 60 bits per second. So we got 11 million bits coming in, and we've got 60 bits, not 60 million, 60 bits per second that we can process consciously. So where's the rest of it? In our unconscious, right? So it's still coming in from the body. The brain's still receiving it, but it's somewhere back in the background. So when we do mindfulness, we're kind of exploring, we're letting some of that stuff that's just sort of brewing in the background, we're kind of letting it just sort of come in front of us, and we're watching it and noticing whatever comes up. All right. We also talked a little bit about the nuts and bolts. I just talked about posture. So that's one thing. We also talked about whether you should keep your eyes open or close them. And it's totally up to you. I have trouble closing my eyes because when I do, my imagination kicks in, or my ADD, not sure which one. But I have trouble. I get just taken away too easily. So I like to leave my eyes open. But you're welcome to close them if that's more comfortable for you. All right. And then we also talked about, I believe last time we sat and we talked about our breath. And we talked about using our breath as a place that we can come back to while we're noticing whatever it is we're noticing, right? Whether we're noticing sound outside of us, or whether we're noticing emotions or thoughts. Tonight, we're going to talk about thoughts. So we already talked about that 11 million bits per second. That translates into quite a lot of thoughts, right? Not all those bits actually form into thoughts, but a lot of them do. So we got a lot of thoughts whizzing around up there. That's why some people call it the monkey mind, because it's just going crazy. There's so much going on in there. And sometimes it can be a little, if you sit, start noticing your thinking, some people find it very unsettling because there's so much going on. And it's kind of scary if you haven't noticed that before. But if you've had any experience with mindfulness, you already know that there's a lot more going on than you normally give credit for. So you'll get used to it, and whatever it is, it's not going to kill you. I mean, it's just stuff coming up. Some of it might be negative thoughts. Some of it'll be positive. Some people might be really relaxed and seeing nice, like, I don't know, seeing visual colors or something when they close their eyes. Other people might be thinking about terrible things, you know. I mean, you may see bad stuff come up. So it's, you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say, just be comfortable with whatever arises. And that's not necessarily going to happen. You won't necessarily be comfortable all the time. That's okay. But as much as you can, just notice it. And again, that's an awfully easy thing to say for people that have had trauma, because sometimes what they're noticing coming up in their minds is not something that that they're very comfortable allowing to be there. But as best you can, you want to try to allow it to be there, because the more you don't, the more you push it off, then the more it's going to come back. And if you can allow it to be there, sometimes it'll actually change, you know. It'll feel like it's going to overwhelm you, that thought or that feeling. But then if you allow it to be there and just sort of identify and say, oh yeah, that's suffering, or that's thinking, or that's you know, we're going to talk about putting labels on what arises when we're doing this. But let me hold off on that idea for a minute, the label idea. We'll come back to that. Just a couple more review things from last time. We talked about paper training a puppy, how you put the puppy on the paper and you hope it goes to the bathroom there, but it wanders off, and then you just pick it back up and you put it back on the paper and you say, stay, very gently. So that's what we're going to do. All right. We're paper training our minds. It's going to run away this way, run away that way. And all we're doing, we're not getting mad at it when it does that. We're not getting frustrated and saying, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't do mindfulness. No, you can. You're doing it. The minute you notice that, you're like, I can't keep my mind still. That's cool. That's you practicing mindfulness. And then you bring it back to the anchor. So today, our anchor is going to be our breath. I was going to shift over to some brain slides. But let me do that first. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, share. And let me see if I can find, I wanted to show you guys, first of all, several definitions of mindfulness. We've talked about a definition of mindfulness. Then I mentioned something about awareness and something about paying attention, something about present moment, something about not being judgmental or just sort of accepting what comes. All those are things we've talked about. So here are 4 definitions. And can you all see that? Y'all give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Okay, we're good. Could it be, you want it bigger? Is that better? All right. So first definition is, we define, this is from Mindful Schools. Their definition is attending to present moment experience with equanimity. What in the world does that word mean? I wish I could highlight it, but I can't. I'm sure there's some way I can. I'm sure I have the tool. Oh, there it is. Sorry, y'all. Let me play with this for just 1 second. Oh, well, never mind. Okay. Equanimity. Let me see if I can open this up, because I'd like to see if anybody might know what that word means. No, I can't do that while I'm showing my screen, can I? Teacher Tim or Teacher Andy. I'm going to unmute you, Teacher Andy.
What's up?
Is there so I've got these definitions up, and I would also like to get to the waiting room and kind of check that out. I want to make sure that I'm not, you know.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about the waiting room. I mean, I've got stuff going on in the waiting room right now. But what you can do is just click on participants, and then it'll show who's in the waiting room.
Oh, that's up at the top now. Okay, when I'm sharing my screen, it's up there. Cool. All right. So 7 in the meeting right now. I just wanted to unmute everybody and see if anybody knows what equanimity means. Okay, I've got you guys unmuted. Anybody know what equanimity means? What does that mean? Attending to present moment experience with equanimity.
I think maybe it's the resource. Yeah, I don't know.
Say it again.
Yeah, I think it's either result.
Result?
Yes. Maybe no. I don't know. I just guess.
Well, equanimity is it's got the word equal in it, and I think that's where you're coming up with result, maybe, right? Like an equation. So equa means equal, right? Means the same. So when we treat present moment experience with equanimity, what we're saying is that we're treating everything sort of the same, and we're not noticing thoughts that we really like, pleasurable thoughts like our Disney cruise that we're going on next month. No, we couldn't be going on a cruise next month. We're all quarantined. But the Disney cruise that you went on last summer, that's a pleasant thought, but we don't get attached to it. And when we do get attached to it, we say, oh, I'm attached, I'm remembering, and we just notice that, and then we come back to the breath. Likewise, if something really unpleasant comes up, like that dog that bit us when we were out walking earlier today, that neighbor's dog who's really, really mean, scared the daylights out of us. That's a bad thought, but we're also not getting attached to that. And we're just remembering it. Oh yeah, memory, remembering. We just acknowledge that. And then we go back to whatever our anchor is. And what's our anchor today? Our breath. Okay, so next definition. John Kabat-Zinn, he's the guy that started mindfulness practice here in the US, a doctor, a neurobiologist who was working with patients with chronic pain. And he discovered that training them in mindfulness helped them manage their pain. Not so much control it as accept it, and therefore it was less severe. So he says mindfulness is the awareness that arises by paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. Okay, that word, sorry, let me move you guys over here. This panel is kind of, I wonder if I can move it down there. That would be cool. That's perfect. Okay. So this word, non-judgmentally, another big word. It's the same basically as equanimity. If you're not judging the things that are coming up as really good, I like that, or I can't stand that. Instead of having those reactions to them, if we can just notice them, and before we have the reaction, just label that memory or planning. I'm planning, thinking about all the stuff I have to do tomorrow. And you just simply acknowledge it and then kind of let it go, or let it be there on its own. It may not go away right then, but it's not gonna, things won't stay the same for that long. All right. I'm going to skip the next one and just go to the operational scientific definition. Let's get the science. What's science say mindfulness is? Science says that mindfulness is the self-regulation of attention. So we're regulating, we're controlling somehow, or directing our attention with an attitude of curiosity, openness, and acceptance. Okay. Acceptance, non-judgmental, equanimity. They're all kind of hitting at the same thing. We're trying to just let things be what they are, accept them as they are. That's a really nice thing to say, huh? Not so easy to do for any of us. It's not necessarily our default. So it's something that we can practice. And it really does get easier if you practice. Imagine that, like anything else, right? You practice something, you get better at it. Okay, so let's get out of the definitions. Oh, stop share. Okay. Let's see. So we've taken a few mindful breaths together over the last few weeks. And we even talked about using our breath as the anchor, I think, last time. So today we're going to use our breath again as the anchor of our sit, right? Our time sitting together. Only this time we're going to get our awareness, we're going to let our awareness open up and not just be focusing on our breath, but after a few breaths, we're also going to start to notice what comes up in our minds. Okay? Think you can handle that? Let's see. And I thought because we're going from the breath to what's happening in the mind, we need a little more time for this. So we're going to try 5 minutes. Does that sound good with you guys? And before we do it, I called it a sit, what we're doing. We're sitting, we're practicing mindfulness. Why am I not, some people might be sitting out there thinking, why does he not just say meditate? I mean, that's what we're doing, right? Meditating. And if you are from a tradition where meditation is a part of your tradition, that is true. This is like meditation. But people associate meditation with religious practices. And while it might be the same activity, it's not bound by one spiritual tradition. It's something that is an activity that is scientifically studied, and it's something that you have to try and experience, not believe. It has nothing to do with believing anything that I'm saying, right? Nothing to do with believing in me or any of the words I'm saying. It's about practicing. It's about experiencing for yourself. So that's why I should stop talking and we should practice. So let's do that. You guys ready to get in a mindful posture? Now, you're going to notice, we're going for 5 minutes, so that's a long time. And you're going to notice your mind running away, right? Like that puppy going off the paper. It's going to happen. If it doesn't, then you need to be directing this class. And I'm going to turn it over to you next time. So it's completely natural, right? In fact, it's an essential part of the practice. That's what we're practicing. We're practicing noticing when our minds go out there or back there or down there or up there. And we're just noticing it, maybe labeling it, maybe saying, okay, I'm planning, or okay, I'm remembering. And then we just, or if it's something in the body that you're noticing, like burning in your knee, right? A little burning in your knee, you might just say, pain, burning. Just notice it, label it. Obviously, if you're hurting yourself physically, you should move and change positions. But otherwise, you should see if you can just be with it. Okay. So anyway, that's why I call it a sit instead of meditation. Yes, they're sort of the same thing, but this is something that we're doing that is really doesn't have to be tied to any religious practice. Okay, so I think we should probably, I talked about labeling. Let me just say one more thing about that. We want the labeling to be very gentle. So here I am focusing on my breath. A thought arises. I notice it. It's from the past. So I just say remembering. And you can label it whatever you want. If you want to say memory, that's fine. Or if you want to say past, that's fine. And just say that to yourself, okay, in your head, and then just go back to the anchor, which in our case is the breath. All right, so I will ring the bell and we'll have 5 minutes. I might chime in here and there and just say a word or two, but I'll keep it soft so that you all can enjoy the 5 minutes of silence, right? We're not doing nothing. We're doing something. We're practicing. So when you do this later this week, don't think, oh, I don't have time to just sit and do nothing for 5 minutes. You're not doing nothing. You're doing something very invaluable. So here we go for 5 minutes, get in a mindful posture and focus on the breath. And once you've taken a couple of breaths, then if thoughts arise, notice them. If they don't, just enjoy being with the breath. When thoughts arise, notice them. If they happen to take you before you notice them, you find yourself down the road before you even knew what happened, then that's fine. Just come back to the breath. Here we go. You may focus on the breath as it comes through your nostrils, or you may notice it more as it fills up your belly. Wherever you notice the breath the most, that can be your anchor point. You're not trying for anything. You're just sitting here, letting what happens happen. So if you're feeling anxious at all, try to release that. If some thought seems to come back again and again, just sort of smile at it and welcome it as a annoying friend. Every time you notice you're thinking, you come back to the breath. It's always there. Never goes anywhere. It's reliable. Okay. So that was 5 minutes. I'm wondering if anybody has any sort of reaction. You could either write it into the chat, or you can. I'll tell you what. I'll unmute everybody that's on. Okay, everybody's unmuted. So if you were cussing at your spouse, you may want to stop. We can now hear you.
Yeah.
Did that feel long?
No, it's
No?
yeah. I think I can do more longer than this
Good.
5 minutes. Yes.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, sometimes it's really
Interesting because, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, go. Yeah.
It's just interesting because you do hear everything that's going on, even though that there's really not a lot of sound going on. I could hear I really all of a sudden started focusing on the dripping of the sink. So I had to go turn it off real fast because it was like a blaring noise.
Yeah, you were like, this
Concentrating.
is like, yeah, like water torture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was the dogs barking. Even though I came in from outside and shut the door, they're still barking and it's still coming through. But it was soft enough to where I could live with it and, not have to get up and change my position. But yeah, it's
I
good
could
to
hear
get.
my dog snoring.
Oh,
That kind of.
that's a funny sound. I love hearing my dog snore. It cracks me. Yeah, it's good to get in a quiet place just because, sounds are not a problem. They can be part of your practice, but it is easier to get your feet under you with this practice, with this mindfulness practice, if you do have a relatively quiet environment. So it can be challenging. If you got that water dripping behind you, that can be intolerable. So anybody else? Any other comments about what you experienced in that 5 minutes, or what took you away from the breath? Or did you notice that happening? Was it hard to stay with the breath?
Like I said, I noticed I could hear the dogs, their own deep breathing. It was like
Mhm.
they were doing it with me.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I like that thought.
But then I came back to my breathing.
Okay, good. Good. That's it. That's all there is to it, really. Like I said before, it's actually a really simple concept. It's not necessarily easy, but it's a very simple concept. Okay. Well, I just want to remind you about a quote from last time. And that's the quote from Viktor Frankl. I know I've mentioned it this is the third time I've mentioned it, but I just want to keep coming back to that idea of there being a space between the things coming into our awareness, into our perception, and our reaction to it. So there's a space in between what's coming in and how we react. And that space is where we're kind of investigating and trying to open it up a little bit. That may seem okay. So one thing I want to say, the last thing I want to say tonight is that I don't know if anybody else has felt this, but sometimes I feel like there's a conflict between the idea of being really connected. Like I want to feel connected with everything around me. I want to be connected with everyone. That a lot of people feel like that's what mindfulness is about. It's about feeling that sort of oneness and connection. And there is that. But then also, I'm sitting here saying that there's sort of, you're noticing things, but you're not getting attached to them. You're kind of remaining detached. So how can we be connected and unattached at the same time? That seems like a contradiction, right? But I think it's only a contradiction in our intellectual brain, because I think when you practice this and you start to feel that, what that feels like to be able to let something come up in our minds and our hearts or outside of us, and instead of reacting, instead of me going across to my neighbor's house and strangling their dog who won't stop barking, instead I can just sort of notice it, and almost like it's a movie. And yeah, I'm into the movie. I'm into the, I'm watching the drama. It's exciting, it's interesting, but but I'm not in the movie. There's something about me that is separate from the movie. So there's that separate thing that I'm talking about, but I'm also talking about connection. And that's an interesting contradiction that we'll talk more about, because the only way that you can understand how that makes sense, those two different things, is by experiencing and practicing mindfulness. And then it just kind of becomes apparent that those two things can happen at the same time. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight, and I'll post this on my website. And I hope that you find time this next week to take 5 minutes, or maybe it doesn't even have to be 5. You can shoot for 2, but I'm going to challenge you to shoot for 5 minutes once a day. If you want to do more, great. 2-3 times a day, great. But I challenge you to do 5 minutes of mindful breathing and paper training that mind, paper training the puppy, once a day for the next week. See if you can do it. And I know it's the hardest thing to sit there and do nothing, right? Because you feel like there's too many things I need to be doing, and they're all calling me right now. But you remember that when you do this, you are doing something. And chances are that if you can do this, that it's going to make you more effective at the next thing you go and do. Right after that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or if you want to do 20, great. See if it doesn't change the way the next thing you do feels. or the way that you approach the next thing that you do after you've practiced mindfulness for 5 minutes. So think about that this week, and we'll meet again next week, and we'll do something just a little bit different. So thanks guys for being on the call, and please leave comments, web talk, type. Let's hear from you. Tell me what's working for you, what's not. Say, wow, I wish you'd wear a different shirt next time. All right.
All good.
Good night, guys.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good week.
All right.
Do I end the meeting for all?
Hey,
I don't want.
Part, can you switch over host to me?
Yes.
Sorry,
Let
real
me do
quickly,
that.
so I can clear everything out.
Let me do that. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that. Your host.
Okay, sweet. Thanks.